Here we go.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I will go ahead and call to order this special session, regular session of the Auburn City Council for August 10th, 2020. Before we take roll, for those in the public that are watching, we just want to remind you that if you do want to comment on an item that is on the agenda or even make public comment this evening, due to COVID-19 and the number of executive orders related to open meetings, we are accepting public comment and have been as they were posted when this meeting was agendized. You can easily comment still tonight, if you have not already, by sending an email to publiccomment@auburn.ca.gov. So just wanted to take an opportunity, take a moment to show that, and just remind everybody, if you do want to comment tonight, it is not too late. You can do so still. So with that out of the way, I'll go ahead and ask the city clerk to please take the roll.
Councilmember Dowden Calvillo.
I'm present.
Amara.
Present.
Mackey.
Here.
Spokely.
Here.
Mayor Berlant.
And I'm here. Thank you very much. If you'll all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everybody. Before we get started, and I'm sorry, just a quick little housekeeping. Amy, can you send me the text for the accommodation here? I'm sorry, I didn't ask for that ahead of time. Thank you. So with that, our first item here is Mayor's Accommodation. And we want to take an opportunity and honor newly retired, Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro. So I just asked our city clerk to do two things at once. So just bear with her. She's going to quickly send me the text for the accommodation so that I can take an opportunity to read it to all of you. And there she goes. And then if we can add Victor in as well. So myself, actually Councilwoman Dowden Calvillo as well. I think Councilwoman Mackey as well. A number of us did have the opportunity to wish Victor a farewell on his last day, which was at the end of the month, where I did present him with a copy of this accommodation. But wanted to have him join here. Victor, it looks like you're already at the lake, maybe fishing, doing something beautiful, better than working. So, Lieutenant, I wanted to take an opportunity to read the accommodation because I think it really shows the breadth of your career here in Auburn and what you've done. And so, take an opportunity here to recognize you, and then anything you'd like to say, we'll get to that. So. There's a lot of whereases here because Victor's had a pretty distinguished career with Auburn. So here we go. Whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro started his law enforcement career with the Auburn Police Department in February of 1996 as a reserve police officer. And whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro was assigned to the Patrol Division as a regular police officer with the Auburn Police Department from November of 1996 to September of 2004. And whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro promoted to the rank of sergeant in September of 2004, where he held the rank with the department until March of 2013. As a sergeant, Lieutenant Pecoraro worked in the department's patrol division, as well as the department's investigations division. And whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro promoted to the rank of lieutenant in March of 2013 and worked as the administrative lieutenant from March of 2013 until September of 2019. And as Lieutenant Victor Pecораro's final assignment was the operations lieutenant from September of 2018 to July of 2020. And whereas Lieutenant Pecoraro was a EVOC instructor, that's driving for those who don't know, he was an EVOC instructor with the department for 20 years from 2000 to 2020. And whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro was a member of the Auburn Police Department's Special Weapons and Tactics Team, or SWAT, from January of 1999 to January of 2011. And whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecораro's ancillary assignment duties with the Auburn Police Department, including being a WDI instructor, a bicycle officer, field training officer, business liaison officer, honor guard member, tactical communications instructor, and a naloxone instructor. And whereas Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro retired from the Auburn Police Department on July 31st, 2020. Now, therefore, I, Daniel Berlant, Mayor of the City of Auburn, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby honor Lieutenant Victor Pecoraro for his accomplishments, dedication, and commitment to the City of Auburn and the Auburn Police Department. So, Victor, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, I know this isn't we don't get to see you in person. It's a little, different, but please, Victor, let us know, how you're already doing in your first couple of weeks of retirement and any words you'd like to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mayor and council members. And I see we have our new city manager. Hello, sir. I met you ever so briefly one day in the lobby when you were looking for a map. And hello, Gary. So yes, thank you. One of the first things that come to mind is those who brought me on board 24 years ago, the leadership at the time. Thank you for trusting me and bringing me on, giving me that chance to serve this community and this city. I enjoyed the ride. It had some challenges, but at the same time, challenges are always opportunities to me, and I enjoyed every one of them. And so that being said, my first week has been kind of relaxing. I've been just trying to take care of some little projects that I could really focus on. I'm kind of taking it easy, and I'm looking forward to trying a couple other things out. And when I do, I'll let you know what those are. But it was truly an honor to work with everyone over the years, and right up to all of you here today. It was actually my pleasure. And again, I thank you. It was a great ride. And I appreciate you taking the time to invite me here this evening and to read my short story to everyone in the community. So that being said, I wish you all the best, and you're in good hands. So thank you.
Thank you, Victor. I'll share with you and the whole community for Victor's retirement party. I shared with him that the biggest success of an Auburn resident, especially a Placer High School student, is never getting pulled over by Victor. And so, I wear that badge with honor, Victor. I want you to know that, I always, as everybody on this council I know does, follow the speed limit, but when I was in high school, it was definitely Victor who caught every criminal and speeder around the high school. So with that, I do want to let an opportunity if any of the other council members have anything to say for Victor. We'll start with Councilwoman Mackey.
Thank you. Like I posted on Facebook, and like I told you when I went to see you, Victor, you've been here as long as I have. I started on city council in 1994, and 2 years later, here you came, and I could always depend on you. And it's going to be a little difficult not having you around to ring up, but I do wish you the best, and I'm so happy that you're getting a chance to retire, and I'm very proud to have known you. Thanks so much, Victor, for serving our community so well for so long.
Thank you very much. And thanks for stopping by the other day.
Sure, of course.
Councilwoman Downing Calvillo, go ahead. And then
Yes, so I echo Cheryl's sentiments. And Victor and I have a long past. He was my first ride along when I first got on city council back in '98. So we were both newbies together, and he showed me the ropes. I think I blinded him with that light. We were out searching for somebody, I don't know, but really appreciate everything, Victor. And you've just been a star with the police department, and we're so fortunate to have had you serve. And we're grateful that you now have the opportunity to retire and enjoy the rest of your life. And we know that you're in Auburn, and we love you and look forward to still seeing you around. But thank you so much for everything. We truly do appreciate it. We'll have to have National Night Out in your neighborhood. Next time we're able to actually do it in public, we'll have to come over. I won't be riding in the back, but we'll have to come by and celebrate in your neighborhood. So thank you very much for everything, Victor.
Thank you very much.
Councilwoman O'Mara.
Yes, Victor, I'm sorry I couldn't make your retirement party. I think I was out chasing my grandkids all around the state, but and you'll figure that out soon with retirement. You get to go everywhere at any time. But anyway, Victor, thank you for everything you've done, and you've been wonderful. Everybody in the community knows Victor as a wonderful person who is taught a lot of kids a lot of things, and I can't say that my kids were not pulled over by you, but in any case, they probably deserved it. And Victor, you've been wonderful for Auburn, and we hope you stay involved. And I think you seem too young to retire, so I know there'll be something else coming. Anyway,
Thank
good
you
luck.
very much.
Councilmember Spokely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Victor, congratulations on your retirement. I can't help but tell you I'm a little bit envious that somebody as young as you are is now retiring. But your commitment and dedication to our city is obvious. You've done amazing things with our police department in the time that you've been there. I want to personally thank you for all of that work that you put into the department. And man, I only want to wish you the best of luck in whatever future endeavors are heading your way. I see it in your face. You've got something planned, and I look forward to hearing about it. I will miss you around town, seeing you around town, so don't be a stranger. Come visit us often. And best of luck to you, Victor. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So Victor, again, thank you on behalf of the City Council. We appreciate you joining us this evening, and thank you for letting us honor you in front of the community that you have served for over 2 decades now. So thank you very much. And with that, we will go ahead and continue to move on through our agenda. So our next item of business here is the agenda approval. This is the decide for council members and/or the public to ask for the removal, postponement, or the change of a listed sequence to the agenda. The agenda will be approved by roll call of the council. Is there anybody who would like to remove or change an item on the agenda? I will ask the city clerk if there are any items from the public being requested to be changed or removed.
There is not.
Okay, with that, can I please get a motion?
I move we approve the agenda as posted.
Okay, okay.
Second.
If the city clerk can please take the roll.
Councilmember Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Amara,
Yes.
Mackey,
Aye.
Spokely,
Yes.
Mayor Berlant.
And I am an aye. Moving on to the consent calendar. We only have one item under here, but this item that's listed on the consent calendar will be considered to be routine in nature and be approved by one blanket motion with a roll call vote. There'll be no separate discussion of this item unless somebody would like to have it removed. So I'll see first any of the council members would like to remove item number 1. With that, yes, Councilmember Spokely, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to pull item number 1 just so
Okay.
we can have a quick conversation.
Then let's go ahead and pull item number 1. So Councilmember Spokely, go ahead with any of your questions. Since it's the only item, we won't move forward with any consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Holmes for putting in the application to fill the seat of our city historian. I was a little disappointed to see that there were no other folks that put in applications. So again, thank you to Mr. Holmes for doing this. I did notice on Mr. Holmes' application that the main item that he wants to focus on in his term on HDRC is certified local government. And I want to make sure that we're clear, or Mr. Holmes is clear. This item was brought before the council, previous councils before my tenure, while I was on city planning commission and HDRC, and it was discussed quite at length, and there was no real traction for moving forward with certified local government. In fact, my recollection served me right. There was more negatives associated with this certified local government than there were positives, based on a very limited amount of funding that was available many years back when we were talking about it while I was on planning commission. So I'm sure there's lots of other things that Mr. Holmes will lend his vast historical knowledge to benefit the HDRC. But I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Holmes was clear. My opinion of CLG is that unless it's changed dramatically, I'm not sure what the real benefit for our small city would be, other than to create a whole separate standalone body, which would be dealing with all of our historic and those types of issues. So that was it for me.
Appreciate that. I think my 2 cents would be for staff. If this item does move forward, we probably need to make sure to include the planning commissioner, because if I'm not the chair of the planning commission, if I'm not mistaken, is the chair of the HDRC. Is that correct? So
Yes.
we might want to ensure that that gets clarified, that if that's going to be the topic that this member at least is going to bring forward, that there's a broader discussion with the council before they spend their time to do that. But with that, Councilwoman Down in Calvillo, sounds like your hand is up, and then Councilwoman Mackey will come to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Holmes for stepping up. He's been such a strong force in the historic preservation field, and specifically for Auburn for many, many years. As your former chair of the Planning Commission and also of the Historic Design Review Commission, we had Mr. Holmes come before us on several occasions on different issues, including this particular one. And I just wanted to clarify for the purposes of the record that I absolutely support the appointment of Mike Holmes to our Historic Design Review Commission. I believe that he brings a tremendous amount of wealth of knowledge and value, but this does not in any way result in the in my confirmation of the CLG program itself. I also have concerns with regard to this particular program. We've talked about it as well on both at the HRDC or the HDRC. I always want to say that wrong. Maybe not in as much in detail as Mr. Holmes would have liked, but we have discussed it, and I have done my own research, and I am a little concerned about it because it really would require the city to carry out the intent of the federal government with regards to historic preservation, and also some state requirements as well. And I have a little bit of difficulties with that. So I just want to make sure it's clear that while I support Mr. Holmes, I am not endorsing the city's involvement with CLG at this time, especially since we're dealing with a pandemic and have some bigger issues as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to speak to that.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I'll just make the comment that if we want to continue to discuss the certified local government, we probably should agendize it if once we get past 2 of you of whether or not. The other thing too that I failed to mention, and we'll get to you here next, Councilwoman Mackey, is Mike Holmes is in our waiting room. So if there is any desire for anybody to ask any questions, we can bring him in as well. But with that, Councilwoman Mackey, I'll turn it over the floor to you.
Well, so as not to belabor this too long, I want to thank Mike too for his application. I think he's going to be an excellent member of the HDRC. His knowledge of history and of our community he has a wealth of knowledge. So I'm really grateful for that. And so as not to break the Brown Act, to violate the Brown Act, I just want to say that I would have some similar concerns as the 2 former council members spoke. So I think that Mike will be quite busy on HDRC with the work he has to do as an HDRC member. And that's what his forward motion should be, is being as good a historic design review commissioner as possible. And once again, thank you, Mike. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Yes, Councilwoman Amar, go ahead.
Yes, I want to thank Mike Holmes also. I also am very disappointed we didn't get more applicants, but Mike Holmes is top of the line. I know he's very involved and knows, very knowledgeable with historic design review issues, and I welcome all issues. And I think what you said, Mayor Berlant, that the issues should come before us, I concur. I love hearing all new ideas and concepts, and I welcome anything that comes before us. So thank you, Mr. Holmes. I appreciate that.
Great, thank you. With that, I will go ahead and open this up to public comment. I do want to make sure to our city clerk that if Mr. Holmes had planned to make a comment at this item, now that we've pulled it, that he can signify to you either through the chat feature or by raising your hand or by texting us or by any other fashion to let us know and we can add you. But with that, Amy, were there any other public comments that were made for this item?
I do not have public comment for this item.
Okay. Okay, well, on that note, then I will go ahead and ask, Councilmember Swokely, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to recommend by resolution the appointment of Mike Holmes to the Historic Design Review Commission.
I'll second.
Okay. City Clerk, you're taking one of those. So with that, if you'll please take a roll call.
Councilmember Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Amara,
Yes.
Mackey,
Aye.
Stokely,
Yes.
Mayor Berlant.
And I'm an aye. This item passes. Mike, welcome to the HDRC. And Councilmember Spokely, we all have our animals at home, so you're just the unfortunate one at this meeting. If you notice on Friday, I didn't realize it until it was noted to me afterwards. My cat jumped on the back of my chair during the meeting. So us all being pet lovers, it's part of the work at home issues. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to item number 2, our public comment. This is the time provided so the public can speak to the council on an item that is not on the agenda. We do ask and have been asking that you provide public comment via email or by voicemail, as was noted on the agenda. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we have been accepting public comments prior to, just based on the fact that we are under the COVID-19 executive order. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask the city clerk if there are any, well, actually, first, I'm sorry. Are there any members of the council that would like to make a comment? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Councilwoman Mackey.
Well, I'd like to make this public comment and congratulate you, Daniel and Kristen, on your upcoming good news. And I'm very, very happy for both of you. I didn't know where to say it, but I think public comment is just perfectly okay. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I
For
was
those of
thrilled.
you
I
who
don't know
haven't
about how you
heard,
feel, but I was thrilled.
well, for those of you who hadn't heard, yes, my wife and I are expecting our first child, and we are excited. I posted a picture on Facebook, if any of you saw it, and we both were pretty shocked. We did not know the results until we unveiled in a eco-friendly way, I should tell you. There was no pollution left behind by the smoke, and there was no glitter or anything else like that. But it turned out to be a boy, which I was not expecting. So I was pretty shocked. But you know, in everything going on in this world, there's a lot that all of us are dealing with, myself included, and her as well, being a teacher, and the stresses of life. And so, you know, we will have a new adventure here for us. One more thing in life, but we are excited. Thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate that. And if any of you can send me names of boys, my wife and I already had a girl name picked out. We came to an agreement early on, but we cannot agree on a boy's name. So anybody from the public may send us public comment to assist us with that. So thank you very much.
Public comment.
Congratulations to you too, Daniel.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, there's no vote for this, so because it's not a, as it's been reminded to me, it's not a democracy, and I'm not the mayor here in our house. So anyway, with that, anybody else have any public comments? I'll turn it to the city clerk to see if she has any items.
There is no public comment.
Okay, great. With that, let's go ahead and move to council business. First item on here is our investment policy review and update.
I am moving Andy and Donna over for this item.
Fantastic. While we're doing that, is it Amy, technically too early for me and us to congratulate Donna on nobody filing against her and continuing as the city's treasurer, or?
Well, her filing period is officially closed.
Okay.
Yay.
Can everybody
Okay,
hear
Donna,
me
you're
now?
stuck.
Donna, we can hear you. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much. And thanks for confirming that for me, Amy. I appreciate that. I wasn't 100% sure. All right, well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to see all your faces, even if it's only on the computer screen. I am pleased to be here with you all tonight to make some recommendations on your investment policy. The current investment policy requires an annual review. And so that's what I have done. I looked at the investment policy that you last adopted in January of 2019. And I'm making I have some recommended revisions for your consideration this evening. The first of which is to remove the requirement for an annual review. The California Government Code used to require that municipalities do an annual review and update of their investment policy, but that is no longer required. So I always recommend that you give yourself as much flexibility as possible and try to stay in alignment with the government code as it pertains to your investment options. And so I do recommend that you amend the policy requiring a periodic review of the investment policy instead of requiring an annual review. The second change is to address changes in the government code section 53601. In January of 2019, probably right after you adopted your last investment policy, the government code changed. And it clarifies requirements for the purchase of asset-backed securities in two respects. First, the maturity limit language was clarified to reflect how many investors already interpreted the law, which was that you can purchase securities with a maximum remaining maturity of 5 years or less. So the way the law was stated before, it was gray as to whether you could purchase a security that had a total life of 5 years maximum, or if it had if it was a 7-year investment, but it only had 5 years remaining, could you purchase that? And so this clarification of the law clarifies that yes, you can, as long as the maximum remaining maturity is 5 years or less, and it is an eligible investment. And then second, the bill eliminated the requirement for these asset-backed securities that the issuer of the security be rated A or its equivalent or better, as provided by a nationally recognized statistical rating organization. The code still requires that the specific security itself be rated AA or better, but it makes sense to remove the issuer rating criteria, since the issuers of asset-backed securities aren't generally rated. So there was no point to it. So I recommend changing the investment policy to mirror that change in the government code. And then other than that, oh no, one more change. So sorry. Section 10.3 of your policy requires that your investment committee review proposed changes to the policy prior to bringing it to the city council for approval. It's my understanding that your investment committee no longer exists, nor does the administrative committee. So I recommend removal of that requirement since the committees no longer exist. And those are all the recommendations that I have. I think it still continues to be a very strong policy. It gives you lots of flexibility and safety. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Thank you, Donna. Before we get into full questions, I just, and I know it's our city manager's first day, so maybe Andy, you could help with this. I thought we still had an administrative committee established, made up of 2 council members.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The last time, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. The last time the administrative committee met was, oh my gosh, over maybe a year and a half ago. I think we met on the mid-year for, not last year, but the year before. And I'm not sure if something changed subsequent to that, but there seems to be the idea that perhaps the administrative committee no longer exists, and I'm not completely sure if that's the case, though.
Yeah, Councilwoman Mackey, go ahead.
You're muted.
I know, undo it. I was trying to unmute it. On the mayor's appointment list, at the top of the list, it says Budget Committee, Admin Committee, and scheduled as necessary. Now, probably the last Budget Committee was when I was mayor. I don't think Bill ever had a Budget Committee meeting. I don't know, but it's generally the mayor and the vice mayor that meet in Budget Committee. So I wouldn't want to take that away. I think that we need to keep that so that the mayor, vice mayor can meet at least on items that are of importance before it comes to the city council, discuss them and help give that direction to Donna and the finance director. And I think it still needs to be there.
So Donna, before we move into other questions, it sounds like the cleanup to remove those two committees was based on the perception that they were no longer in existence, but confirming that we do have an administrative committee that just meets periodic. Is there any issues from your perspective of just leaving that committee and removing the other committee that I think you said the investments committee, removing that committee from the policy?
Right. If an administrative committee still exists and it is the desire of the council to have changes to to future investment policies go to that committee first, then I would recommend that you instead of striking that requirement, simply changing the name from investment committee to administrative committee.
Okay, great. Thank you with
Right.
that. Appreciate that.
Right.
Andy, go ahead.
I agree with that. That's perfect.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Questions from the council?
Matt had a question.
I have comments, but not questions. So
Okay, Councilmember Spokley, we'll do questions first here.
This is probably more in lines of a comment, but I just want to make sure everybody was aware. Bill and I were planning on holding this meeting when we were heading into the COVID situation. But for obvious reasons, we never held that meeting. So I agree with the comments that were made by Cheryl and others that we need to maintain the committee because things like this pandemic are perfect examples of why this committee needs to get together and discuss things. So I'm in agreement with what I heard so far.
And maybe, maybe we didn't call it the administrative committee, but Matt and I sure have met a lot on administrative things over the last several months. So my guess is if we want to call it, we could say that committee did meet, just not on investment items. But any other questions for Donna or for Andy? Okay, not seeing any. Is there any public comment on this item, Amy?
There's not.
Okay, great. I know there were some comments. I'm going to start with Councilwoman down in Calvillo, if that's okay, and then Councilwoman Mackey will come to you second.
yes, so thank you very much. I appreciate your taking a look at this and proposing some changes to us. You had indicated that it's your desire not to have an annual review or an annual revision of the policy to be consistent with state law now. But I noticed on the first page of the investment policy, under the section that says policy, it still says, it says here in the second sentence, though no longer required by California government code, this policy should be updated annually to maintain currency with legal and city requirements. So I just thought that, again, if we're looking at not an annual requirement, that we just say should be should be reviewed and updated periodically there as well.
Sure, that makes sense.
So that was in the section, the first section that said policy. So instead of saying should be updated annually, so it should be reviewed periodically and updated as needed in order to maintain. That's the language I would suggest there. With regards to the previous discussion by council members on section 10.3, the investment policy review adoption section as well, I would just simply identify that any changes to the policy would be brought to the council by the administrative services director and the treasurer. But it sounds like you're now going to involve the administrative committee as well. So I'm okay with that. Initially, I thought if you were taking them away, I wanted to have some kind of dual review. So, but it sounds like we're going to address that. So thank you very much. So Mr. Mayor, I know there's other comments, but when we're ready for a motion, then I would be ready to make that motion with the amendments. Thank you.
Sounds good. We'll come back to you for that. Councilwoman Mackey, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Donna and Andy, what would a periodic review look like as opposed to an annual review?
Right. As long as I continue to serve as the city treasurer, I still intend to do an annual review. I think it's important to make sure that the investment policy stays current. And there certainly wouldn't be anything wrong with the council deciding to keep the requirement for an annual review,
Right.
because the government code does change periodically. So I still intend to do an annual review. It may not be exactly every 12 months, but certainly every year to year and a half to bring it to you.
Good. And then I just may as well finish with my comments while I'm here. The comment I wanted to make was, I certainly was not trying to say that you and Matt had not been having any meetings over budgets or any funding and all those other things. You have certainly had those meetings and just didn't call them that. So you are the admin committee and you have been meeting on a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
I didn't take away. Thank you.
Probably more than any other mayor and vice mayor in history, I would say. So
Thank you
Thank
for
you
that
both.
clarification. I did, and I hope I didn't sound defensive. I didn't take it away
No.
that we weren't. I don't think Matt and I have ever called it that word.
right,
So, in all fairness, maybe that committee hasn't met, but
right.
thank you
No,
for
it
that.
has.
Any other comments from council? Councilmember Spokely, go ahead. And then Councilmember Amara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Donna and Andy both, I just want to thank you guys. I sat on council for, I want to say it was the first 2, maybe even 4 years with very little interaction with our city treasurer. And that's all okay. I just didn't understand what to expect. Donna, I think you've done a fantastic job. I'm happy that you're here for another term based on nobody running against you. So thank you for that. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for these reports. They're very thorough. You clearly are up on the requirements, both state and here at the city. So thank you, Andy, also for all your help on this as well. Thank you both.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Amara, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to echo that I'm good with the annual review. I think that's important. And having the administrative committee be a part of this is very important too. So I echo the sentiment of the rest of the council.
Great, thank you. With that, I believe Councilwoman Downing Calvillo, you might have a motion to make.
Yes, I was just trying to quickly write the amendment. Not quite as quickly. I would move that we, let's see here, sorry.
No, take
I
a
would
second,
move
it's
by
okay.
resolution that we approve and adopt the updated investment policy with the additional amendments. First being to the policy section stating that though no longer required by the California Government Code, this policy should be reviewed periodically and revised as needed in order to maintain currency with the legal and city requirements. And the second amendment would be to policy number 10.3 to state that any revisions to the policy shall be reviewed by the administrative committee before they are brought to the city council for adoption.
I'll second that.
Okay, are there any questions by the council of that motion? Okay, not seeing any. The city clerk will please take the roll.
Councilmember Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Amara,
Yes.
Mackey,
Aye.
Spokely,
Yes.
Mayor Berlin.
And I am an aye as well. Donna, Thank you very
Yes.
much. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Andy, thank you very much as well. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4. This is the 2020 street resurfacing project. This was one that I asked to be added to the agenda just to have the entire council and community updated on the progress that was done, knowing that this year's roadway program looked a little different than it had in the past. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to just talk about what that looked like. So I don't know if Chris or Menjel, who's leading us off tonight? And
thank you,
I
Mr.
believe
Mayor. Sorry
Menjel
about
will
that.
be
Having some
presenting.
technical difficulties with my computer here. Menjel, the transit / public works project manager. Tonight, we bring before you, it's an informational memo to discuss the 2020 street resurfacing project and associated work that occurred over the past few months. Can everyone see this PowerPoint slideshow here? No, unfortunately, I might not be able to get it to you because the laptop I'm using might not have the capabilities to put it out there. But did you guys receive it via email? I can certainly, okay. So everyone has.
It was in our packet, Menjel.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll move forward without it. I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Menjel, I'd be happy to share that for you as well if you'd like it shared while you're speaking.
I mean, it would be helpful just to give some overview as to what's going on.
Sure,
for the public's sake, for the public to be able to see it as well, Amy, if you don't mind, that
just
would be
take me a
great.
couple of seconds to get it.
No problem. Menjel, why don't you keep going? And Amy, while you can put that on the screen.
Yeah. So, as you recall, on May 11, 2020, Council authorized staff to move forward with the 2020 street resurfacing project under Resolution 2030 in an amount not to exceed $750,000. At that time, staff was actually able to piggyback on the roadway maintenance project that Placer County had recently competitively bid. In taking that approach, staff reached construction services agreement with Central Valley Engineering for the purposes of approximately 28,000 square feet of roadway base repair. Pavement coating company for microsurfacing, approximately 770,000 square feet, about 5.1 lane miles of roadway work. And Sierra Traffic Markings Incorporated for approximately 7,000 linear feet of striping. Amy, if you can go, I'm not sure if you were able to get the PowerPoint up at this point yet. Maybe not, but that's okay. We were able to incorporate the streets that the staff had brought to council back in on May 11th. It was a list of about 20 different streets that we decided we were going to do some microsurfacing on. And before the contracted work proceeded, Public Works maintenance crews completed 2 days of pothole patching, roadway edge weed removal, and removal of overhanging vegetation, which was quite a lot given what had been going on over the past few years, and clearing of all ditch lines. In addition, Public Works maintenance crews placed roughly 9,000 pounds of crack sealing material in anticipation of the microsurfacing. Contracted work commenced on June 16th, and with limited activities on the roadways due to the COVID-19 pandemic, was able to be wrapped up by July 15th. Also, following the completion of the contracted work, Public Works returned to the streets to paint 26 intersections that included stop markings, bars, crosswalk, and island delineations with 110 gallons of paint and 800 pounds of glass beads. So if you guys are driving around out there in the street, you'll notice that the center lines are much brighter, and they will continue to be so. The total Central Valley engineering contract for the base repair was about $154,835. Pavement coating contract was $260,000, slightly above that. And the contract with Sierra Traffic Marking was about $8,630. In addition, staff also contracted Wallace and Poole and Associates for materials lab testing in an amount not to exceed $9,300. This brought the total project to approximately $432,833, which was significantly below what we anticipated of the $750,000, with a savings of about $317,000. Currently, Placer County staff will be refreshing approximately 120 linear feet of striping within city limits this month as part of an annual cooperative effort. Staff's intention is to continue to work closely with Placer County Public Works engineering staff on an ongoing basis to ensure both jurisdictions get a competitive pricing by grouping larger projects together when applicable. Currently, staff continues to work on the program list of streets that the city's 10-year road report had prioritized. The expectation is that some streets will require overlays and other streets will be able to benefit from micro sealing like we did this spring. That, I welcome any questions from council.
Great, thank you very much, Menjul. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead and take any questions from the council.
I have a question.
Yeah, Councilmember Amara and then Councilmember Mackey.
Yes, Menjul, thank you for your report. Appreciate that. Could you just educate the public and me as to the importance of the micro surfacing or overlay? Because I on my street, the road was actually in fairly good shape, and I've had a lot of my neighbors come approach me and say, why did they do our street and not my or which is just fallen apart, or Auburn Folsom? Maybe you can just address some of those questions that I'm
Absolutely, and we've gotten many questions from the public regarding the same thing. So one thing to keep in mind is a microsurface is very different from an overlay. An overlay is more or less you're going through the entire street, you're doing a 3-inch dig out, and you're putting fresh asphalt over the entire thing. What a microsurface is we recognize, hey, here's a street that's in fairly good condition, just like you mentioned, but it is close to its edge. Where if we put a microsurface over it, we can expand the life cycle of it and give it 10 to 15 plus years if we can. So that's why in certain situations, it seems like, oh, they did a street that was perfectly fine. Yeah, it was fine at that moment, but within a year or so, it may have deteriorated a little faster than necessary. So this was more or less protecting the infrastructure that we currently had in place.
Councilwoman Mara, any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just to follow up. So then I imagine there is a professional that goes around and, I mean, do you measure the amount of usage so that there needs to be the surfacing?
So many of the streets that were done were pre-programmed in the 10-year roads report. Some of the streets, like for instance, there are certain parts of Riverview and Linden weren't in that report, but staff went out and we determined that, hey, here's an opportunity for us to actually save the city quite a bit of money by getting to this ahead of time. So that's most of the streets that were accomplished in this past round was from the 10-year roads report, with just very few staff taking upon themselves saying, hey, we should do something here before we actually get into bigger issues.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Mackey.
Yes, well, I have the exact opposite problem as Councilwoman Amara, as my colleagues have heard me mention numerous times over the years. Arroyo Drive has probably not had a city paving truck or anything else on it in 40 years. My neighbors are constantly asking me, why not? And they're blaming me because I'm on the city council.
Well, I feel very sorry for you there, Cheryl, but unfortunately, Arroyo was part of one of the streets that was scheduled to get a full overlay this year. Then the pandemic happened and we kind of had to put that off. Staff's
great.
I mean, it's unfortunate.
Your excuse,
Staff's plan was to try to put together a small overlay for the more important streets later on in the year. But again, we were waiting to see what the city's finances looked like and what direction that council wanted to send us in. Again, that's probably why you were wondering why there was so much cost savings on the project that we did earlier this year. We only wanted to spend the SB1 funds and the LTF funds that were available without having to really delve into the general fund portion of the project that was put out there. We're trying to save that money for a complete overlay.
I understand. And I'm just pulling your leg, Mental. I gave
I
up
know.
on my road a long time ago. I do have a question about Hale, though. I saw Hale Avenue on a list a while back, and I've had a couple of people call me about it because I have property that fronts on High Street, but Hale Street is the side street. So I've had a couple of people call me, and it leads directly to the high school. And
Okay.
it has huge potholes on it. And I thought it was on the list to at least have the potholes fixed this year. And now I don't see it on any list. So do you know anything about Hale at all? So I can tell these two ladies that I've asked.
I'll tell you this, offhand, I don't know where it's at on the 10 years road report, but I can tell you that staff has addressed it. We've noticed the size of the holes you're talking about, and it's a fantastic candidate actually for an overlay. And perhaps if we can do some larger dig outs within that area, maybe we can get to it with a micro seal if we do another round, but it's definitely on our list, but it's not on the 10 years road reports list.
And I also heard that Quail Ridge, is that the same as Quail Meadows? You did a micro surfacing on that, and didn't it have structural problems?
Quail Ridge. Now let me look at my list here and see what we've got.
You have Quail Meadows, Quail Hollows, Quail Court, Quail Meadows Drive. It's got to be around there somewhere.
Right. I know, don't quote me on this. I know there was one of the quails that we did not do because it was only 7 homes on it. It wasn't too bad. And we figured we can get to it in a few days. Well, it's a few days. I'm sorry, in a few rounds.
Okay.
I would
All right.
certainly double check that and get back to you with that information.
Okay.
Yes, Quail Hill. Quail Hill was the one that didn't get done.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilwoman Donna Calvillo, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Just for housekeeping purposes, could I get a copy of that 10-year roads report? I don't know if I have a copy of that, so I'd really appreciate it. Second, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that you worked hard to partner with Placer County. I think that's incredibly smart and something I've always advocated for, to do that so that we can get a bigger bang for our buck when they're doing some kind of surfacing or paving to piggyback on that. So bravo to you, and bravo that we came in $317,000 under budget. Very good, very happy to see that. And I'm hopeful that we can utilize those funds for future road improvements. So thank you very much. No questions except for the report and just the comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, council member. I just can't, I can't take credit for that completely on my own. The city engineer, Chris Chardella, has been working pretty diligently with Kevin Tabor at the county as well too. And they've been fantastic to work with. And, you know, they're looking forward to working with us in the future. I know council member Spokley had mentioned that he would like to see us move forward with that, you know, more in the future. And that's definitely the direction we're going. There's cost savings associated for both jurisdictions.
And I had a conversation with Kevin Tabor also. We just happened to be colleagues from high school.
There you go.
So we talked about that as well, and that's incredibly important. And I'm very appreciative that we can continue to take advantage of that opportunity. So thank you.
Absolutely,
Alice,
thank you.
that report's on the city's website.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'll take a look. Thank you.
Councilmember Spokley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Minjal, thank you for your report. Couple of things, and I know I've been talking with you and others over the years on our roadway maintenance program. We have a 10-year CIP that's done in 2023. Do you happen to know, Minjal, or maybe Chris might know this, but does this 10-year CIP include all of the 90, I think, what do we have, 91 centerline miles of publicly maintained roadway? That might be including some of the private streets, but we've got a lot of streets that we have to maintain with the program. Does the 10-year CIP cover all of those roads that we're required to maintain as a municipality?
So at the 10-year CIP covered it at that time. There's been some roads that the city has accepted since then that may not be covered by that report, but those should be in fairly good shape. I'll say this, when this report was done, the roads look much different than they do now. We've experienced some significant changes as far as weather and things go. Sometimes a drought could be just as bad for the roadways as water is, because sometimes when there's no water and then there becomes excessive water, we see deterioration just as fast, if not faster. So things look different now than they did then. Between myself and Chris, I know we were talking about putting together a new report so we can actually capture what is actually out there in the street moving forward. I don't know when that's going to be feasible. It may be later next year or at the end of this report, but we may see what we can try to do.
That's great to hear, Mitchell. And we all, as council members, drive around our city streets quite a lot and visit with different constituents. And is there a program for folks who live on a street that is clearly falling apart to make it aware to public works staff and the city that something needs to be done with the roadway program?
So that being said, there is no specific program, but between myself and Chris, we have an open door policy. We invite people to call us and let us know what they think. We don't mind either going out and checking it ourselves or sending one of the public works crews to go out and take a look at it. And knowing that things are different than they were when this report was put together, we certainly assess it on a case-by-case basis. So when people call and they let us know, that's the first thing we tell them. Hey, we'll get out there and we'll take a look at it. We don't discredit it because it's not on the report. And just the same way we don't buy into it just because someone says this is what it is. We go check it out and we assess it, and then we add it to a list. We have a list that we've added about 6 or 7 different streets already that shows that it needs more work since this report has come out.
So Mitchell, like you described with that street that had 6 or so houses on it, and you went and looked at the pavement for that street, you decided that it was probably better money spent on another street inside our city. That's how you utilize that list of streets that people call in about?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a way for me to get my hands on our unit costs for this latest contract round for microsurfacing, for slurry seal, for dig out and repairs? Is that a number that I can get from you guys?
Absolutely.
That would be very helpful. So one of the things, Menjo, we've talked about this before in our meetings. SACOG and SACOG staff and I have met we've had conversations throughout the years. We've had actually a meeting and an upcoming meeting to kind of progress this idea of doing exactly what you're doing with Placer County and Kevin's group on countywide roadway maintenance and taking advantage of those economies of scale. We're talking with SACOG about regional opportunities to even further take advantage of economies of scale. You can only imagine what Sacramento County, Yolo County, El Dorado County, Placer County, all the 6 counties that are part of SACOG, what their purchasing power might look like from a roadway maintenance standpoint.
Absolutely.
And a starting point for me is sharing with SACOG staff what we pay on a cost per square foot or cost per cubic yard or a cost per ton, whatever those values are, and maybe the last couple of years where we've done roadway maintenance work. So I guess that's a question and maybe an ask for staff. If you guys could pull that together, that would be very beneficial for this kind of beginning conversations that we're having with SACOG staff to try to figure out if there's a way to regionalize some of our efforts. And again, sole purpose would be to take advantage of economies of scale.
Absolutely. And I can certainly get you the numbers of what the unit cost was this round. And I can even go far back as the last overlay that we did. That's easy to put together, but these numbers are so dynamic. We find that sometimes it changes. I mean, with every 6 months, it goes up, it goes down. We never know where it's going to be. It's all a matter of what's going on out there in the world and what the contractors want to put on paper, I suppose.
Well, and Minjo, I completely understand that the oil prices are a perfect example, and it's
right.
A huge part of pavement work is cost for oils. The last question, Menjel, I've got one of the platforms that 21 of our 28 members of SACOG use for managing their roadways is a platform called Street Savers.
Okay.
Have you heard of that platform before?
Me personally, no. Maybe Chris has. I can't speak to that, but no. It's definitely something I can look into if you think that there's some value in it for us.
I appreciate that, Manuel, because when it was brought up to me, I hadn't heard of it either. So I think it would be in our best interest to look into this platform. It sounds like it's going to be the basis moving forward for this regional understanding of exactly what, pavement resurfacing, and it's all the different types of resurfacing that you covered in your report. But it sounds like this platform is a way to keep, I guess, more real-time data on the conditions of our streets.
And the name is Street Savers?
It's called Street Savers. If you do a quick Google search, you'll see it.
Okay.
I have no idea what the costs are. I have no idea what the overhead is to input all of the data. I'm sure we're probably due for a PCI update for all of our city streets.
Yep.
That's probably a part of that exercise. So if you wouldn't mind looking into that, that would be great.
Absolutely no problem, Councilmember.
I might just add a few things, Councilmember Spokley. I've had a brief involvement with that software back for County of Santa Clara about 8 years ago. Just a brief use of it, but at least as of that time, that county was utilizing that software for their street maintenance program.
Thank you, Chris, for that. I do appreciate it. Again, like I said, it's a new thing for me, but when we get those phone calls from people who drive through potholes to get to their driveways every day, and they see us doing, microsurfacing, just that little example or explanation, Angel, that you gave, it's a pound of prevention, an ounce of prevention, kind of a scenario. I mean, in the road report, it's identified how expensive roadway repair becomes as the roads get worse and worse and worse.
Absolutely.
And anyway, thank you very much.
I have just one more input. So the other thing with this new project, the microsurfacing, it is important to say that we do get a huge benefit for the cost that's put into our infrastructure, just about like a economy as a scale type or escalation or cost. We can cover about 10 times the area compared to a traditional overlay. So about 30 cents per square foot compared to about $3.
And what's the extension of life expectancy, Chris? Is it a 15-year life expectancy with a microsurfacing? Is it a 5-year? Is that information available?
It'll depend on the amount of traffic. You get a small structural enhancement from microsurface. Overlay is really going to give you more of the structural benefit over time, but it really comes down to the amount of traffic loading. And so really for more slower speeds for courts, microsurfacing is a great solution in those areas compared to traditional overlay.
Thank you very much, Chris. Menjel, thank you very much for your report.
So I just have a couple questions, Menjel, for you, and then I'll get to you, Councilwoman down in Calvillo. So the microsurfacing project sounds like we were able to do even more and come under budget. Has there been any discussion at the staff level for the plan for the remainder of the $300,000+ ?
Absolutely. So the plan for what we were thinking to bring to council in the fall was a small overlay to cover some of those streets that require immediate attention before we go into the extremely wet season. With that $317,000 of cost savings, Chris Chardella also let me know that there was also about $142,000 of cost savings from the Nevada Street project. So we were going to combine those two funds to actually do a small overlay in the fall with council's permission, obviously.
So you took my next question right out of my mouth, but can you repeat how much cost savings was there out of the Nevada Street contingency?
approximately 142,000, which gives us about $459,000 for the overlay in the fall.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear that for sure, and I can only imagine the rest of us will look forward to that. So with that, then I'll go back and turn it back to Councilwoman Dada Calvillo. Did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, just a really quick question. And I'm glad to hear what you just said about the extra funds coming from Nevada Street too, that we can use for overlay. I just wondered if the city has really ever explored the utilization of rubberized asphalt concrete for any of our projects. I know the county utilized it at some point. I don't know how heavily they use it anymore, but I just kind of wondered if that was something that we've ever looked at.
I can say that we haven't done it in my time at the city, but that doesn't mean that it's not something that can happen. I know the county has recently done it, actually, and maybe that's a conversation we'll have with Kevin as well to see, how that worked out, where they did it, under what conditions they used it, and if they're planning on doing it again, because maybe we could benefit from that.
Well, there used to be some grants that were available, and I'm not sure now, but at the State Integrated Waste Management Board, they had some funding for projects that utilized RAC. So, if the county was going to do it, I know sometimes it can be a little bit more costly, but if the county's doing it, if we can get some grants, it's just something to kind of explore. It's for those of you that don't know, the rubberized asphalt concrete is made from used tires, which we all know never breaks down. So something to explore, and would really appreciate just, talking with Kevin, and perhaps they've had some benefit from the grants. I'm not sure, but just something that came to my mind. So thank you.
Sure, absolutely. We'll certainly do a bit of homework on that.
Councilwoman Mackey.
I asked the previous public works director about that rubberized roadway, and I think the amounts have to be like a minimum of $1 million where you can get it. So she was very aware of that. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, I also wanted to say, with the $400,000, why can't we do hail? We can't do Arroyo. Can we do hail?
I just
We'll
want
make
to
it a priority.
I didn't hear him say that Arroyo would not be on the plan come this fall that they may bring to us. So
I didn't hear that either.
yeah. So any other questions from the council for staff? Yeah, council members, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification on the rubberized asphalt. The primary use for rubberized asphalt is in areas where sound is a big problem, and the rubberized asphalt provides a much lower sound generating surface for vehicles to drive on. I've also been involved with a couple of projects where we looked into the use of concrete for the roadway surface. It's a much more expensive product than typical ABAC. And right now, whether we all know it or not, I will tell you, we're in the midst of a concrete shortage. So my construction projects that I'm working on in developing areas in our region are on hold until we can get a better concrete supply in our region. So it's good to look at all of the avenues, because the maintenance cycle on concrete is tremendous compared to your typical, AC roadway. So always good to look into those things. Just a little additional information for everybody.
So the rubberized surfacing is a lot more expensive and requires concrete underneath. Is that it? I'm sorry.
It's a slurry that's made from used rubber, tires.
I got that, but
yeah,
I didn't understand, Matt, the concrete. You talked about that. Is that something different than, or is that something you put underneath this rubberized?
Two different things. Two different things. The rubberized asphalt is instead of using just the oil and aggregates, which is your typical AC, the rubberized has, as Alice mentioned, has the ground up tires embedded in it. So it kind of muffles and dampens the sound a little bit.
And in your experience, is that it's been more expensive, like Councilwoman Mackey said?
I think I agree with what Councilmember Mackey says, that it's typically done on very large projects, just because the equipment to get it out there and supply lines and all that stuff are orders of magnitude larger, I think.
Okay, thank you. I'm
And I
curious.
was just simply asking if we just, again, if there were some grants that were available for it, if the county was using it.
Sure.
I just was trying to really, was more of an informational, inquiry on this. I wasn't specifically advocating that we use it right now. I obviously am very conscientious about costs as well, but I just know it is an alternative. And if there was some way that we could utilize it for something like Auburn Folsom Road, or, which would make more sense. A city street, a neighborhood street isn't really where you would utilize that. It would need to be somewhere, like Auburn Folsom or something like that. But again, just throwing it out there is something to think about. There may be some opportunity for grants, and it's a good way to use those waste tires that just don't go away.
Yeah, it's
So-
intriguing. Thank you.
And staff will definitely keep it in mind, as if we can see the county utilizing it in an area, maybe that's a good opportunity for us to jump on board and utilize the scope of the larger work to actually get it out, as you mentioned, on Auburn Folsom or some other street that's similar. So we'll definitely keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, let me ask the city clerk if there's any public comment on this item.
There is not.
Okay, I think there are some comments that people wanted to make. Any comments from the council? Oh, no. Well, I will just end it with one thing in closing. Menjel, thank you very much for your presentation. I think that you guys should be commended for kind of thinking outside the box this year, looking at a cost-effective, different type of treatment. And I know it sounds like we all kind of heard from people who were saying why that street and not others. And so having that explanation tonight, I think is important. But I am very much looking forward to the conversation of how do we use the remaining dollars from the savings from this project in Nevada Street for some overlay work, because there are a number of roads, Auburn Folsom being one of those, that is, and I don't know if you've heard of Arroyo Drive. It sounds like that is another that really needs some work. So look forward to that. And I also look forward to an update of the road, the overlay report. It is almost coming up to 10 years old. And so I think having a refresh of that would be important as well. So Menjel, Chris, thank you guys very much. Appreciate, this is an informational item. So appreciate your update. With that, we'll move on to our reports. And the first item here, number 5, Mayor's report on council strategic planning. And I just wanted to bring the conversation to the council, some conversations that our new city manager, who I failed to recognize earlier and was going to then do so at our city manager report, but I'll do it right now. So obviously, John is with us on his first day. In meeting with him earlier today, he's already had a number of visitors, a number of phone calls, and I already got him and a number of our city staff walking the streets to look at some of our restaurant dining and some of the improvements. So John, I just wanted to take an opportunity. I put it on here on the agenda for city manager report. You may not have anything, but I thought that was a good opportunity for you to just report out on your first 7 hours with the city of Auburn. So we'll get to you here just in a second. But real quick, I just want to let you know that John and I have been talking now for a couple months, I guess, on I think our need as a leadership group, not just the 5 council, but with our new city manager as well, to get us all on the same page. And so John will be bringing forward some recommendations and some options for us to bring in a facilitator and have an opportunity for us to kind of do some strategic planning, whether we put a document together and how that looks is all TBA. But I just wanted to make sure that the council knew that we'll be in the very, very near future here this summer, bringing somebody in, taking an opportunity for us to be able to sit down with John, lay out some of our expectations, some of our priorities, some of our goals, and then make sure that we've got community involvement and an ability for us to fall back on priorities. So if people have thoughts or ideas, happy to hear them, but I've kind of tasked John with bringing back some options for the council on what that would look like. So any questions that anybody has on that? Okay, not seeing any, then we will move to item number 6, which is the city manager's report. And again, John, welcome to your first day. John didn't get a chance to work on the budget, development of this agenda, so he kind of gets to walk in brand new and lead this meeting with not having any say in what we put on here. But again, John, I at least wanted to have an opportunity to give you the floor, and I'll turn it to you now.
Mayor and Council, first of all, I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. First day, and actually over the course of the last month, I've had a chance to meet with 14 staff and council members to talk about exactly what the mayor just described, the idea of doing some strategic planning. The one thing that I will stress with all of you is that my style is to base everything on very strong fundamentals of how we do business, how we provide the many services. We are a multi-million-dollar company that runs 24/7, and we do everything from life safety, law enforcement, to the roads and wastewater, and working collaboratively with our business community. We are in the business of where people live, and it's our job to provide the best community that is possible for all of them. As I've talked with everybody, right now I can tell you that I've got the staff working on the development of an overall projects list, but as the mayor pointed out, strategic planning is critical to your success. And for looking at things from both a short, medium, and a long-term basis, the way that you get big things done is by coming up with vision, identifying the projects and the incremental steps to get there, and then being focused and implementing those projects. And what would that process look like? It'll involve the community, it'll involve the council, it'll involve the staff. It's the idea of bringing in key stakeholders to making all that stuff happen. But today, my first day, is kind of a whirlwind. I didn't even get to drink my soda in my lunch today. So it's been a busy day, meeting with a lot of different people. I was impressed with meeting with some of the business folks. They were in the little snippets. I've been doing this job for a while, and they were saying the right things as they were looking to bring vision to the downtown. Yesterday, my wife and I were in the Old Town section, and I had a chance to visit in 4 different businesses down there. And I was wearing a mask, so nobody knew who I was, and trying to just find out where people are at. And my impression is that Auburn is as strong as any community, and our ability to come out of COVID and to move forward is right there. I will share with you that my first phone call, it's a little after 9 o'clock. My computer doesn't even work. And the phone rings, and I figured, what the heck? I'm gonna answer the phone. So I answer the phone, and it was somebody on the phone. And it's a major Sacramento area business who wants to locate in Auburn. And somehow the person knew that I was starting today, started dropping some names of some people that I knew to kind of bring up their street cred on things. And I'm now arranging for a team of the city staff that we're going to talk with this person about locating in Auburn. It doesn't get much better than that for your first phone call. But overall, I'm thrilled, and I will assure the council, we are going to start working on coming up with an overall plan, working with the council, the community, the staff, that we will start moving some things forward. I had a wonderful meeting tonight with our finance director, Andy. He and I are meeting tomorrow just to get a grasp on things. But overall, the thing that I've learned is that if you want to accomplish the best things, you need to put together a roadmap and a plan for getting there. Oftentimes, a lot of people will thwart the long-term gain for short-term gratification on various things. And I know this council is excited about bringing vision to the future. We're going to move forward. will share with you that I'm grateful for information that Bob Richardson has left. I'm very impressed with the staff, good folks here, and I'm looking forward to working with the council on all of this. I did mention to the mayor that sometimes it's better to have somebody come in and do a little facilitation. And the reason for that is that it allows everybody to have a really good participation. And a lot of the times that person that can help guide and build consensus is better than having somebody on the staff try and do it. So anyway, I'm thrilled to be here. Today's been a great first day, and I am looking forward to working with everybody. And I figure I'll drink my soda in my car on the way home. I've now slept in Auburn two whole nights. So I'm going to get back, and hopefully my wife doesn't have a room for me to paint when I get home tonight. So anyway, I'm grateful to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody.
Great. Councilmember Spokley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, I got to share a few stories because I've got clients in my day job where they have been working with you, for many of them, for a long, long time, and out in winters. And I have heard nothing but the highest praise for you and your abilities. And I'm very excited to have you here in Auburn. I think you're going to do a wonderful job for us. I'm excited to see the work that you and we all do collectively. So welcome to Auburn. I did have a chance to talk to Pierre a little bit because he and I sit on a committee together down in Sacramento, and he again had nothing but great things to say about you and your work ethic and your abilities. So welcome to Auburn. I'm very excited to work with you. I can't wait to see what we can get done.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council for our city manager? Yeah, Councilwoman Mackey, go ahead.
I just want to echo what Matt said. I'm very excited to have John. I'm going to be leaving the council in November, and I feel very comfortable leaving our city in such competent hands. And so thank you, John.
Councilwoman Mackey, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is it 4-year break and then you're back in 4 years? So John still needs to just needs to mind his P's and Q's, or just kidding.
You just never know.
Yeah, by then we'll get Arroyo Street page. So.
She's going to get off the council for that.
Councilwoman O'Mara, go ahead.
Well, yes, I want to congratulate John. Thank you for taking the position, and we're looking forward to working with you. And like Councilman Spokley, I have a colleague I was working with, and her dad knows you from winters and says, and the report is he's always out and about talking to everybody in town and making sure that everybody's happy. So, and you're a hard worker. That's what the word on the street is. So anyway, look forward to having you in Auburn. Thank you for all your efforts and getting yourself up here.
Yeah, Councilwoman Donna Calvillo, go ahead.
Yes, I'll jump on the bandwagon too and just say we're welcome, John. We're really very, very happy to have you. I feel very grateful that we were able to bring you on board, and I look forward to working with you. And I'm sure, no doubt, I'll see you out in the canyon sometime running. So, but very excited. I know you bring forth a wealth of experience, which is really, you know, having experience and expertise during this time especially is very important. And so I'm very grateful to have you on board and looking forward to the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just close it here with John got an earful from a number of our business leaders this afternoon about how Auburn is and how Auburn business men and women are. And, you know, something you think is little is not little. And so diving right into the deep end today for sure. So John, very much, we're looking forward to working with you. Thank you for your report. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to our next item, which is number 7, the COVID-19 update. John, do you want to lead this off, or do we have somebody from city staff going to take this? I know it's your first day, but.
Yeah, on the COVID thing, and I'll just kind of give the council a little bit of an update on where I'm at with it. I had a chance to talk with the mayor a little bit. Obviously, as we're working with the county, one of the biggest things has to do with some of the enforcement and just getting everybody up to speed on where things are at. There are really three approaches. First, you ask and you inform people. The second is you basically tell them this is what you need to do. And I know that there's a lot of people that are looking at ways of enforcement on various things. I will share with the council that I talked with the city attorney a little bit today about how we might go about structuring a little bit more stringently on some of the enforcement options, only for probably the most flagrant violators of what's going on out there. But the ability to kind of level the playing field, there are a lot of businesses out there, especially that are playing by the rules, doing what they're supposed to do, implementing things. We as the city have an opportunity to work with them, obviously working with the restaurants and the various businesses, all the PPE that's going out to everybody. But I will tell you that we are going to be addressing from the staff level, making sure that we get out, inform people, let them know what they need to do. But it's kind of getting to a point where in many communities throughout Placer, but also throughout the entire region, of making sure that everybody is playing by the same guidelines of how they're operating on things. So keep an eye on that. I will tell you that as far as COVID goes, tomorrow I'm going to be calling Sherry from Placer County, who's doing the Placer Shares, to find out if there aren't some resources out there to start promoting within the community some of the business grants that are out there to help people get up to speed. So today's my first day, but I will share that we will look at both how we can inform, how we can assist people, how we can create some opportunity for some of the grants, but also how to keep it a level playing field, because it doesn't work when people are in some ways cheating on some of the things. So we've got to be fair with all that stuff. So basically, that's my report.
Great, thank you very much. Just for the council's sake, John and I had a conversation today about where city management, the previous management, sat as far as the enforcement efforts, the education focus, but I caught him up to speed about what some of the other cities around us are beginning to do. And just to at least begin the discussion, should the council or staff move forward with wanting to take additional enforcement action over educational. I do want to take a quick opportunity, John, if it's okay, to make sure our chiefs who have been also the last couple of weeks engaged with the county. Amy, if you don't mind bringing in Chiefs Canan and Spencer, and we'll just see if they have any additional items to report out on. Chief Canan, looks like you are unmuted, or you want to go first?
Good. Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council, Ryan Canan, Chief of Police. And really just to echo what the city managers talked about as we continue to move into this kind of the next stage of our response to COVID. And again, I think our primary focus will be the education, but for those that do not follow that, we do have those and seen some of those cities in and around the region that have continued to really those education efforts, but where necessary to use the public health order and in partnership with public health director to make sure everybody is following the recommendations and the guidelines and the laws as the state has pushed out. So staff continues to be healthy. We continue to monitor all the internal processes for our staff to make sure we're out there and we keep moving forward in great partnership with our fire crew. That's the end of the report.
Great, thank you. Chief Spencer, anything to add tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just again, echoing those comments that we're continuing to use best practices, continuing to be a model by demonstration of good protective measures such as mask wearing and social distancing. The county continues to push out information as far as our
Is it just me or did we lose Chief Spencer?
We lost him.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if he reconnects. I just wanted to real quick provide an update. It's on something we discussed on Friday at our special session related to the outdoor dining opportunities. As we directed and gave, I should say, as we gave a direction to our city manager on Friday, Tappan Vine did use the Clock Tower Park for outdoor dining, and so there were tables out there. We'll look to see if staff can get with them and give us an update, but it seemed like that went fine. And then today, staff and myself, along with the DBA leaders, we're out there to discuss Lincoln Way, and staff will be working on providing some additional information and data to allow them to bring back to their members options related to the traffic flow on that upper portion of Lincoln Way. So I know April Maynard, the DBA president, was with us at our special session Friday and kind of discussed the concept. Today, staff were able to kind of hear a little bit more of what they were looking for, and John directed staff to go back and provide some additional data to help them kind of formulate and strengthen their plan. So for all of us, we can expect once they kind of get together as a group of what they really want, that they'll bring it to the DBA and then bring it back to us for it. So that's just a quick update on that. Chief Spencer, we lost you there for a moment, but it looks like you are reconnected. So you can continue with your report.
Yeah, I just, I don't think there's anything particularly substantive other than remember that the numbers are continuing to climb. I know that we had some trouble with the reporting numbers being in a lag state. My understanding is that's been corrected at this point. And so I just want to encourage everybody to use best practices, continue to use your face coverings, continue to use social distancing. It is a serious disease, and we just need to keep our health in the forefront of our minds. And so with that, in a report.
Great. Thank you very much, Chief, for those reminders. It's funny, I just literally got a message here from one of our business owners that is tired of right now this kind of the anti-mask sentiment that's out there, and the frustration that unfortunately many of our business workers are being challenged with the anger that is some of these orders. So I think we as a city are going to need to continue to kind of pivot a little bit to provide some, potentially a little bit more than just education to assist those who are trying to enforce the public health order. And that's a sticky one. So, got to really think that through, but just throw that out there for the entire group. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to our last item on the agenda. Chiefs, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 8, City Council Committee Report. So I want to see if anybody has anything to report. Councilmember Spokley, and then we'll come to Councilwoman Downing-Calvillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have last week a Land Use and Natural Resource Committee meeting for SACOG. The big topic of discussion is the 4-county funding round. It doesn't affect Placer County because our local MPO handles all of the distribution of federal and state grant dollars, but it's going to be an interesting fight because there's large cities and rural areas that seem to be kind of going toe to toe with each other. So first meeting I've had down at SACOG where there was some contention, more contention than just a typical conversation. So I'll continue to monitor that and report back. Again, Placer County handles, PCTPA handles all of our federal and state grant dollars. So we're not really a part of the conversation, but because I chaired that subcommittee, it was quite an interesting meeting at SACOG. Let's see, EDC is tomorrow night. And Cheryl, thank you for inviting John to join us. John, I'm assuming you're going to join us for that meeting. I see nods.
Yes, I will be there.
Perfect, perfect. And that is all I have to report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Donna Calvio.
Yes, I have a couple of items to report. The Arts Commission met on August 3rd. And one of the issues they're exploring is doing some live stream, since we're not able to meet in person and enjoy some musical performances, for example. They were talking about specifically using the stage, the City Council chamber stage, for some streamed events. These would be streamed on Facebook Live. So I'd indicated to the commission that I would just kind of allow I would bring this to the council and just let you know that they are thinking about that. And if anyone has any specific concerns about that, let me know. But they're looking at that as a possibility to utilize the stage. And there wouldn't be any members of the public there. It would simply be the musicians, a couple of techs, and then for the purposes of filming. So that's something they're doing to look outside the box. And then also the AAA PAC, not the 5, but the triple, met last week as well. That's sort of more of the social arm of the Auburn Airport Advisory Committee. But something they did discuss, I thought that would be interesting to the council, is they had some members do some extensive surveying of data to determine what are some of the causes of all the extra noise at the airport. How are the planes taking off? What are the different communications to them as to how they should take off, or what degree, or what have you. There was a lot of scientific information that was put out there, but they did a tremendous amount of research and surveying of all the different flights and what the issues were. And they found that there were some inconsistencies on directions to pilots on taking off. So they're working with the fire chief on that, trying to bring some cohesiveness to that, AWAS versus some brochures versus our city website. But all in all, it was very informative. And I know that this week on Thursday, the AAA PAC will be meeting at 6:30. In fact, I'll probably bring you, John, or give you some information. That'll probably be a good place for you to come as well. This will be my first meeting of this entity since I was appointed. They don't meet very frequently. But they will be talking about the noise complaints as well. But it might be something that we'll be bringing to the council as an information also. So I'll kind of work with the fire chief on that. And they also, again, wanted to communicate how appreciative they are of the fire chief and all the good work that he's doing out there. He's really digging in and helping out. So that's all that I have at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the report about the airport noise. And it's nice to hear that they too are taking that seriously and working internally to kind of address some of that, because there has been some recent increase in complaints. So that's exciting here. Councilwoman Mackey, go ahead.
I was just going to say that all my meetings are next week and the week after, so I don't have any reports right now.
Okay, Councilwoman Amara.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I went to the Chamber Governance meeting, and that was the discussion, of course, was COVID, and I had to rush off from that meeting to go to the DBA. And the DBA, as you know, they're working hard to help the downtown be uniform in terms of the outdoor dining. I think they're working on purchasing umbrellas, and then the other discussion, and they're helping to set up various restaurants that want to go outdoors. And as the mayor reported, they're looking into Lincoln Way, closing off and going one way, closing off one side of the street. They spent a lot of time discussing the upcoming Christmas decoration They're going to work with Old Town Business Association and have a uniform approach as to decorating the storefronts and making it kind of a competitive thing so that people will come to Auburn and want to see our storefronts all decorated up. And also try and have the businesses stay open Friday night and possibly Saturday voluntarily, but hopefully everyone Friday night, so that people come up, shop, and dine, and so anyway, that's the big thing they were working on. So that's my report, and I have a couple more meetings coming up this week as well.
Great, thank you very much. I am in the same position. My committees will be meeting later in the coming weeks here. I had one other item and I failed to write it down. So seeing as I cannot remember it, that's fine. With that, if there's nothing else from the council in record time here, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting and see most of you probably bright and early for Medlars, which if I remember what it was, because I do think it was COVID-19 related. I will bring it up tomorrow in Medlars. So with that, everybody, thank you very much, and I will adjourn this meeting. Have a good night. Oh, Councilwoman Mackey, yes. Oh, and
I was
Councilwoman
just going to say, Congressman McClintock is going to be our speaker at Medlars. I just wanted everybody to know that.
Nope, that will be an interesting conversation tomorrow. For those who want to join, the link is posted on the Auburn Chamber of Commerce's website. If you go to the calendar section, you can get the link for their virtual meeting. So that will be a good one. Councilwoman Downing-Calvillo, did you have an item before we close here?
No, I was simply waving goodbye.
Oh, okay.
Good night.
Well, goodbye. Good night, everybody. And we will talk to you all tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.